In episode 42, titled Apply Hashing for Integrity, Authenticity, Non-Repudiation, we position hashing as the quiet backbone of trustworthy checks and proofs. Hashes turn messy, arbitrarily sized data into fixed-length fingerprints that are easy to store, compare, and reasonable under pressure. When the right functions and constructions are used, a single value can confirm that a file was not altered, that a message truly came from a party in your trust boundary, or that a signer cannot later deny authorship without contradicting mathematics. The theme today is practical: how to choose, apply, and record hash-based mechanisms so your systems resist tampering, your audits read cleanly, and your teams make fast, consistent decisions when stakes are high. File integrity verification is where many teams first meet hashing, and it is also where subtle mistakes creep in. The correct pattern is to compute a modern cryptographic hash, such as Secure Hash Algorithm 256, spelled SHA 256 on first mention and SHA 256 thereafter, over a file and compare it against a trusted value obtained from an authenticated channel or a signed manifest. The Wong pattern is to lean on fast, non-cryptographic checksums like CRC32, Adler32, or even performance-oriented functions like XXHash as security controls. They are excellent at catching accidental corruption but provide little resistance against intentional tampering. Equally dangerous is trusting a hash that traveled alongside the download over an unauthenticated page. If the page can be modified, so can the known good value. The habit to build is simple. Pair every file of consequence with a cryptographic hash you received securely, then record what you checked and when. Hash-based message authentication code, spelled HMAC on first mention and HMAC thereafter, is the tool of choice when two parties share a secret and need to detect tampering and forgeries. HMAC combines a cryptographic hash with a shared key, so that only someone who knows the key can produce the correct tag. Verifiers detect any bit-level changes without revealing the key itself. This makes HMAC ideal for authenticating API requests across trusted systems, protecting log batches as they move between collectors and storage, or securing messages in high-speed internal buses. It is faster than asymmetric signatures, easy to implement with mature libraries, and resistant to length extension pitfalls that plague naive constructions. The discipline lies in key management, short lifetimes, rotation on schedule and on events, and storage in a hardened secrets manager rather than in code or configuration files. Digital signatures provide what pure hashing and HMAC cannot: authenticity that a third party can verify without sharing a secret, and non-repudiation that binds the signer to the artifact. The process mixes both families. You hash the content to a digest, then use a private key under Rivas Shamir Alderman, spelled RSA on first mention and RSA thereafter, or an elliptic curve algorithm such as elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, spelled ECDSA on first mention and ECDSA thereafter, to sign that digest. Anyone with your public key can verify the signature. This pattern anchors software release signing, firmware trust chains, legal document workflows, and transparency logs. Because verification exposes no secret, recipients in other organizations or regulators months later can check authenticity and integrity on their own. The habit to build is to keep private keys in hardware security modules, spelled HSMs on first mention and HSMs thereafter, and to publish signer certificates or fingerprints in places your audience already trusts. Not all hashing has the same purpose, and password storage is the classic counterexample where fast is harmful. For verifying secrets that humans know, you must avoid plain hashes and use slow key derivation functions, spelled KDFs on first mention and KDFs thereafter, such as bcrypt, script, or Argon2 with unique salts per credential. Salting ensures identical passwords do not share hashes. Computational cost and memory hardness slow down offline guessing attacks dramatically. Peppering, adding a server-side secret stored separately from the credential database, can further reduce blast radius if the database alone leaks. By contrast, integrity workflows value speed, determinism, and collision resistance. They use SHA 256 or stronger without the intentional delay. Treat these as distinct toolkits: slow, salted KDFs for secrets, fast cryptographic hashes for integrity, and never the other way around. Real systems handle big data and partial updates, so hashing must play well with streams and chunks. Update-safe strategies compute digests incrementally. You can feed a hash function a gigabyte at a time and end with the same value as if you had one massive buffer. For parallelism and selective verification, chunked approaches compute per block hashes and then combine them in a tree, often a Merkle structure, so you can confirm that a particular range of bytes is intact without rehashing an entire object. Rolling hashes provide sliding window fingerprints for deduplication and synchronization, though they are not cryptographic and should not defend against adversaries. In practice, you choose simple streaming for whole object checks, tree-based for scalable verification in object stores or P2P distributions, and never confuse performance fingerprints with security evidence. Some hashes are broken or weak and must be retired without nostalgia. MD5 and SHA-1 have practical collision attacks. That means an adversary can craft two different inputs that share a hash and then choose the one that suits their purpose after you accept the fingerprint. In security terms, that is game over for new designs and a liability for old ones. Modern programs standardize on SHA-256 or SHA-512 from the SHA-2 family, or on SHA-3 variants where platforms support them, and they audit third-party tools and libraries for quiet fallbacks to legacy algorithms. Migration is not just a code change. It includes re-signing catalogs, rotating HMAC secrets, regenerating fingerprints and manifests, and documenting the cutover so auditors understand why old values still appear in archives. Hashing now sits at the heart of software supply chain security, where provenance and tamper evidence are the difference between safe updates and mass compromise. Software Bill of Materials, spelled SBOM on first mention and SBOM thereafter, entries reference component hashes so scanners can verify exactly which library versions are present. Package managers and registries publish signed manifests whose entries carry cryptographic digests of each artifact. Build systems can produce reproducible outputs so independent parties compute the same hash from the same source. Update clients verify both signature and per-file hash before install, and secure boot chains compare measured hashes against allow lists in firmware. The story is consistent. A web of signed hashes and trusted keys makes it hard for surprise to enter your estate unnoticed. Evidence capture turns today's checks into tomorrow's proofs. For every integrity or authenticity decision, store the computed hash, the algorithm name and version, the context, file path, object key, package name, the clock in Coordinated Universal Time, spelled UTC on first mention and UTC thereafter, and the identity that performed the check. Link these facts to the case record, release ticket, or deployment run so a reviewer can rewalk your steps. When you use HMAC or signatures, record key identifiers and certificate chains so you can prove which secret or private key produced the result without exposing sensitive material. Thin, consistent evidence accelerates investigations and reduces how do we know debates to quick lookups. Common pitfalls make good systems brittle in avoidable ways. Truncated comparisons, checking only a prefix of a digest, invite brute force collisions. Compare full values unless you have a formal, documented truncation strategy with ample margin. Encoding mismatches produce false negatives and arguments. Decide on hex or base 64 and stick to it at boundaries. Documenting character normalization rules for text inputs so two teams do not hash visually identical but byte distinct content. Tool defaults can be treacherous. Some CLI utilities still default to MD5 or SHA-1 unless told otherwise, while others lack clear output about which algorithm was used. Bake algorithms into configuration, pin versions, and make your pipelines fail loudly when a weaker or different function appears. A short, concrete scenario shows how these pieces land under pressure. Your public API receives HMAC authenticated requests from a mobile app and from partners. An attacker tampers with parameters in transit to change a payout amount, but the server recomputes the HMAC with the shared secret and rejects the altered request because the tag no longer matches. Monitoring flags repeated failures and throttles the source. Meanwhile, your platform ships a quarterly client update. The build system signs the release bundle with a private key held in an HSM. Clients verify the signature against the embedded public certificate and check each module's SHA-256 before install. A compromised mirror tries to serve a modified binary, but both the signature and the per-file hash fail verification, so the update is refused and the mirror is pulled from rotation. Hashing plus the right wrapper HMAC for shared secret channels, signatures for public distribution, keeps both paths safe. A mini-review helps cement the vocabulary. Integrity answers the question, has it changed, which you demonstrate with a cryptographic hash over the same input and a trusted comparison point. HMAC and signatures also guarantee integrity as side effects. Authenticity answers, did it come from who we think, which you prove with HMAC inside a trust boundary or with digital signatures across it. Non-repudiation answers, can the origin later deny, which only asymmetric signatures backed by proper key custody and published verification can provide to third parties. Each outcome rides on hashing, either directly as a digest or indirectly inside HMAC and signature algorithms, and each requires its own record-keeping to satisfy auditors and partners. In conclusion, turn principles into durable practice by directing a hash audit this month. Inventory where and how your systems compute and verify hashes, HMAC tags, and signatures. Record the algorithms, library versions, encodings, and key identifiers in use, and flag any MD5 or SHA-1 dependencies for urgent replacement with modern alternatives. For every critical verification path, document the verification steps, evidence to retain, time source, and the failure behavior you expect when a check does not pass. When hashing is applied with clear intent, safe defaults, and consistent evidence, integrity, authenticity, and non-repudiation stop being abstract promises and become concrete guarantees you can show and defend. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.